Welcome to The Unseen Crowd, a podcast about the people and movements driving change from the margins. Change often begins in places you can't see, where a crowd gathers, carries strategies, and reshapes futures, even when ignored. This crowd is loud, unstoppable, and unapologetic. These are their stories. Welcome to the Unseen Crowd podcast. My name is Jonathan, you can call me Jono, and I'm going to be your host for today. We have been speaking about rooting in care. We've spoken about practicing accountability. Today, my guests and I are discussing something very contagious in the LGBTQI movement and movement building in general: collaboration. I've got my guests, and before we start, I would like them to introduce themselves. But as they introduce themselves, I need them to share with me a song with more than 5 artists that was perfectly collaborated, and the song was a good product.
Bonjour, je suis Adrien Jean-Marie.
Hello, I am Adrien Jean-Marie. I am an activist and I come from Cameroon. I work for the CAMFED, a Cameroonian Foundation for Aid, an organization that fights for rights of people. I come from there. What I like sing is
Pronto, je te donne, dome soye, ngole wonder comme couleurs. Ce chant représente clairement.
that song clearly represents what we're doing here in terms of collaboration. It means hold my hand and take my hand. I give you everything.
Merci.
Yes, my name is Tieneke. I work for COC Netherlands. And actually, in our Surinamese traditional music, it's called Kawina. You have a group that's called Black Harmony. And what it does and what they are doing is that they are harmonizing all the vocals. So actually I like choirs because everyone has to play its own role but still function together.
So you'll give us a song after this episode?
I will try.
Thank you. Arjos?
Hello, my name is Arjos. I work for COC. I'm an international project manager, so that means I'm responsible for the work in different countries and how the work that partners are doing there. I'm supporting that. And the perfect song, I've been thinking about this, but I didn't know we need to have 5 people in it. So all I can come up with is the Jackson 5. They were very drilled with their family, I know that. But they could dance together, could sing together, and they could bring joy together. So I think that's beautiful.
All right, thank you very much. Do you know one song from the Jackson 5?
ABC?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
ABC, you
I don't know, I have
and
to
me.
tune.
1, 2, 3, baby, you and
Can you
me.
see? Everybody's already singing and happy.
Okay, Shante, over to you.
Hi, my name is Shante. I'm based in Jamaica. I work with Solidarity Yard International as a community manager, and I consult independently. And for me, my song would be We Are the World. I think it had a lot of great artists from the 80s and the 90s. And just to see everything come together, I think on their first recording of the song was amazing.
All right, thank you. Can you sing us a line or two from that?
We will not be doing that. I'm pretty.
Okay. Children. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So today's episode is really titled Building Bridges and Sharing Power. So we're really going to be delving into collaboration, how it's worked for us in the communities that we lead, in the movements that we're part of, and what are the benefits that we've seen from collaboration. What are the do's, what are the don'ts, and what are the gaps? So just to kickstart us, when you think of collaboration in a movement, what's the first word that comes to your mind and why?
Merci Jonathan pour cette question.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that question. When I think about collaboration, the first thing that comes to mind is take care of others, to take care of ourselves. Because it's about stepping out of our usual framework where we are talking about money and finding donors and strategy. Instead, it's about collective care, creating spaces that can be safe and where we can exist as LGBTQI persons within the movement. That's how I see collaboration. Take care. That's the first word. And maybe even only one that comes to mind when I think of collaboration in a movement. Take care of each other.
I would say mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling.
Yes.
Interesting.
You really sometimes wrap your mind around it because their differences can be very big, and then you still have to find a way to work with each other, balance things out, being patient. So it's really mind-boggling.
Thank you. Arjos?
I would say the key thing for successful collaboration is to be able to listen to one another and really understand where somebody else is, what they need, and listen with with the ear to basically make sure that you can create a win-win situation. Because good collaboration is win-win, and bad collaboration is if people think like there's a cake that's not growing and you can take a bigger piece on the expense of somebody else.
All right, thank you. Shante, when it comes to collaboration, what word comes to your mind?
The word that comes to mind is opportunity, simply because as folks existed in a world that would have rather ostracized us, now we're having to learn the tools to come together. And it's kind of difficult to exist within, I guess, a global context where you're hearing that, to exist as a queer person is illegal, then to hear it on a national stage as well. So that when we come together to relate to each other, which is what collaborating is, it becomes difficult because we already have that perception that we're already not included. So it's an opportunity, I think, for us to figure out, I guess, our pain points and how to collaborate or work together to better tend to them and get towards our collective goals.
All right, thank you. In the conversations that we've been having for the past episodes, there've been a common term or a common word that it has been popping up, trust. And we are saying collaboration is rooted in trust. So I want us to discuss further what's the most effective practice for building trust and open communication when it comes to collaboration. What's the most effective practice?
Most effective, yeah. I think if you're not willing, if you don't have that, if you're not willing to meet another, even in a certain way, you have to have that will to work together, to listen to each other, to meet each other at a certain point. It shouldn't be always the middle point, but willing to move a little bit because in the world you're not alone, so you have to be willing to give and take, and I think willingness is very important. If you don't want, we can do everything, we can put everything in place, but no one is going to move. So having the will, and it helps if you have a common vision or dream where you want to go to. And then even doesn't matter if you have a different way to get there, but we have the will together to work towards that vision and a dream we have together.
Okay, thank you very much. Arjos?
Yeah, I think it's also this is very good what Tieneke just said, but I think it's also a long-term project. In Dutch, you have this expression that says like trust comes by feet and it goes by horse. Mm-hmm. And it says it all basically. Trust is something you constantly have to build on. You have to keep maintaining that, building also the personal relations with the people. Having this interest in what's happening in their personal lives is a step for you to build that trust. Because we tend to trust people more that we know a bit more of, that we like maybe even. But you constantly have to also, and then work also speaks. So you have to then also what you agree on, you have to live up to it. If you let people down you can even let down somebody once, but if you apologize sincerely, then you still keep the trust. But if you are disrespectful there, you can easily lose it again. And then you will have to rebuild it again in a slow phase.
Right, so as we move on, can you please share a story of collaboration, a story where collaboration worked perfectly well in your movement? And you sharing that, can you just tell me what practices or principles did you implement or did you tap into?
For me, I'd like to share a story of the Tambourine Army. I was not a part of the work that they were doing at the time, but from the outside looking in, it was a very pivotal movement, I think, within the Caribbean that came on the end of the Say Her Name movement, and then Life in Leggings, which happened in Barbados, which was talking about just street harassment, sexual harassment of women, and then how that fits broadly into rape culture within the Caribbean. And so the Tambourine Army, they started out of a smaller group of about 7 to 10 women in Jamaica, and what they were able to do was mobilize women from all across Jamaica during the month of March, which is International Women's Movement, for the largest women's march in Jamaica to date, really to talk about all of the topic areas that I just spoke about. And the way how they did that was reaching into their different communities on the ground. Some persons would have held logistics and coordinating transportation, getting persons into our capital city, while some persons would have been mapping out the layout of the actual march, coordinating refreshments, coordinating people, security, safety, media. And that stood out for me because so many, what would have looked like a larger group of people coming together arbitrarily took months of work, and a group of women who recognized the need for this thing and were able to tap into that need across different subgroups. So it was rural women, it was queer women, it was cishet women, it was women who were regarded as from the upper class or the lower class. So we had different people from various socioeconomic status all coming towards this shared goal. And I think that's one of the most prominent thoughts for me, or movement building that I've seen that really demonstrates collaboration.
All right, thank you very much. Adrien?
Ouais, merci Jonathan. Histoire de collaboration qui a fonctionné au Cameroun. Il faut savoir que, comme je dis, je viens du Cameroun, et le Cameroun, c'est un pays qui est encore assez hostile.
I'm from Cameroon, and as said already, in Cameroon, it's very hostile for the community. But one successful story is about a certain young leader called Michael Ngama. He's a young man, and he thinks a lot about the LGBT community, and he brings different communities together in order to have these conversations, sisters, brothers, allies, sometimes in the village. And yeah, they'd go swimming, doing some activities together, drinking together, and just to share these moments together where they're able to share experiences regarding the situations in terms of the violence and some other unfair situations they live in. And while they were there, they were able to listen to each other and get down to what they can co-create together. And each of them had distinct responsibilities, so that when they separate, everyone can go their own way and implement these practices in order to create a vision of how Cameroon can then be more impactful in creating these safe spaces. So they decided to document it in order also to have security protocol that can be shared, that has the information on all the violence committed in terms of gender, in age. And it wasn't just about having experts on board, but about having friends, sisters, and brothers all together. And just like Jonathan here, having the podcast where they're able to share and exchange information, what I've learned, and anyone else listening can learn, and perhaps other people can contribute to the movement without necessarily having expertise or certain skills. I apologize for the long answer. When you start speaking French, it's difficult to stop.
J'ai tout balayé en termes d'histoire, en termes de pratique qui a marché. Voilà. Sorry.
Thank you very much. So for this next question, I want to tap into your experience, Arjos and Tieneke, working for COC and having that international perspective in movement building. I want to find out, how have different movements supported older generations while empowering younger ones?
Well, I work on the national department and not the international one. What I see that we try to do at COC Netherlands is to support all the different age groups, genders. So actually create a space or help to create a space for every group. We are part of it's called Roze 50 plus. So that means for the LGBT community of 50 years and older. It's a collaboration. We are supporting them. Assist also in looking for funding. We have, of course, for the younger generations, the Purple Friday every year in December, and involved teachers and students, bring them together. Is there more to do in it? Yes, I think so. But now it's still our separate groups. There could be much more doing in bringing the generations together, but it should be an initiative that comes from the community self. We are now seeing some people asking for funds to organize dinners or lunches, intergenerational groups together to talk with each other and share experiences. So I see this in the last 2-3 years as a trend, and I think that has to do that the younger generation is realizing that they are standing on the shoulders of the older generation, and they are more active. Gen Z,
Gen Alpha,
all the Gen Alpha. Also, we have a special group for the Gen Alphas. But I think there is I'm part of the movement since I'm 18 years, and I can see that it goes with ups and downs. And I feel that we are in an up again of activism, and all the older generation, they have so much to share. And I try to encourage that also as part of the elder generation to reach out to the younger generation. And actually they are reaching out to me. So, hey, come and share and talk a little bit more about X and I. So that's what I have to say about it.
Okay, thank you. Arjos?
Yeah, and the international work, it depends a bit where you work and how, we as queers and whatever identification we have always been around. That's not the thing. But have you been an organized movement, and in what way? That maybe it has been diverse in different countries. And for example, I work a lot with partners in South Asia, where you traditionally have the hijra community, which is the transgender community, if you put a Western label kind of partly on it. So people living like the third gender. And that has been a very old tradition in those society that have a place in the society as well. And what I've seen, if you worked in intergenerational in a number of the countries, the tension comes a little bit between the hijra culture, in which there was always a safe shelter for people, and there's also been abuse in some part of these settings as well. But it was basically the older generation a bit taking care of the younger generation, but also the younger generation taking care of the elders in their community. So if you managed to become a guru, you were a leader of a whole house, a daira, of chelas is the term now, like followers, you could translate that. And that's a system with a lot of hierarchy actually in it. And then we now see in also the educated, so to say, more queer activists coming in the same movement. And how do you make these two communities talk with each other? Because the queer community is not so much thinking in hierarchy, they're thinking about equality and equity. So that has been a little bit of a clash sometimes in the movement. We as CUC, my role then is basically to help people understand each other. Because in the end of the day, us fighting with each other in our own movement, it does not help our movement. So how can we find kind of a common ground, keep space for the different thing, but also understand young people have to understand that some older leaders also feel vulnerability. That's why they try to stay on top of the pyramid, so to say. But then the older generation also have to see that you have to create space for the young generation for the next change. We can play a bit of a mitigating role there, but in the end, a bit like what Tieneke said, we work inside out. So the communities themselves make the decisions. So I then, in these dynamics, see my role more sometimes as somebody as an outsider, with the outsider privilege, that you then sometimes can see a wider pattern and can then translate what's going on there. But the decisions are made by the community there. And I see in some countries that working out very well. In other countries, the conflict flaring up and sometimes flaring down. But I think we also have to realize if you want to have a collective or a successful collaboration, it needs to be tested before you can define it as successful. So if things all go smooth in a project, then that is a smooth project, but maybe not a good collaboration yet. The good collaboration comes at the moment that people have been tested by internal conflicts and have managed to resolve it. And that builds the trust as well. If you collectively manage to resolve it, that's the moment that you build that trust that you can build on the next step you're making. So that is for me important. Yeah.
Shante, earlier you spoke about intergenerational approach. So from your understanding or from your perspective, what practices or spaces foster genuine intergenerational learning?
I think I'm going to do a very broad view. When I first met one of my mentors who organized the Tambourine Army March, Dr. Spence, I met her as a final year university student who had no idea what it meant to be a feminist, but I knew that I was upset about the world having a lot of expectations of me as a young woman. And there was a summer camp called I'm Glad I'm a Girl Summer Camp that brings young girls from all across Jamaica and then the young women of the only sorority on the university campus together as their mentors. And during that time is where I learned what it is for myself and some tools and strategies, but it's also where a lot of healing happened for my younger Shante. And it wasn't that we had very stiff, rigid presentations, but we were playing games, we were painting shirts, we were having dinner together in clubs. And I say that to say, sometimes these brave spaces that we want to create already exist. We just need to figure out some terms of engagement or endearment, as my mentor Afia Walking Tree would say. How do we want to come together and what do we want to achieve in these spaces? Because a lot of our one-on-one conversations are really what shifts, I think, a lot of our perspectives, informs our movements, and then changes the world. So just facilitating space within ourselves to know that we can change, we can learn from each other, and to make space for that to happen within ourselves, and to witness other people without judgment as they go on that journey, which is difficult, but comes back to us practicing self-trust again. And that empathy.
All right, thank you. So as you conclude, I've got one last question for you guys. So if you could design one practice to strengthen collaboration, what would it be?
It's a practice that already exists. and it would be group naps, and here's why. Activists and advocates are burnt out. And not only are we burnt out, but we keep going. And so a big part, I think, of the nap ministry that makes it so relatable is we have to pause, because it's at that pause that we're able to meet ourselves and meet each other. And so it gives us a great foundation to be able to better relate to people when we're doing it from a refreshed perspective. And I always love to see how people come together and the ideas they come up with after they've been arrested. And it's something that I've tried within organizations that I've been a part of, particularly in our retreat spaces. And from it, we've birthed a great abortion companion training, and also just amazing land justice and solidarity days to bring people together to learn new farming skills. So I know it's something that works, and it might seem idealistic or childish, but I think we need to also tune into those things that we would have needed when we were younger to better help us develop relational skills now that we're older.
Oh, thank you very much for that. And others?
Okay.
Yeah, I would say coming together. Now times we come together online most of the time, and that is different than meeting face to face and just being in each other's energy. Because I think we learn by being together, feeling each other. You learn a lot about yourself. And then, of course, have the breaks and practice self-care, as we started this podcast about self-care. But I hope that we will do that more often. I know it's expensive. I know when I was 18 and I was asked to become part of the Surinamese LGBT organization in the Netherlands. And that's what we did. We had weekend retreats, old and young together, laughing, talking, cooking, discussing, making a conflict, having conflicts with each other, and then make up with each other. But I wouldn't miss it for 1 second, because that had helped me to be the person I am today. It's by having those kind of people around me and those kind of encounters. And every time we are together as a group, as we have experienced in the last day, something happened. And there is something that happened. Maybe we don't know yet how to, we haven't analyzed it, but we all have felt something. And with that feeling is the fuel that we need to continue to do our work. And I agree with Chanté, yes, we also need to pause. But I think that combination is helps me. So I can speak for myself.
D'accord, oui. Oui, merci encore Jonathan pour
First of all, Jonathan, I'm very impressed by your questions. They're very well curated and well chosen. For me, in order to sustain the movement, it's important that we focus on empowering communities. Because it's not just about empowering the communities financially, but empowering them with the necessary resources needed to sustain these movements, also to be able to reduce the dependence on financial partners or funders. And it's also important for the generation holding, I give the leadership at the moment, to pass down the torch to younger generations. Also to address that power imbalance. And at some point, it's also necessary for the leaders to keep giving advice to the younger generation coming in, because, as I said, they are the custodians of knowledge, because it also creates some sort of understanding between the generations. In summary, I believe that the best way to do this is by diversifying our means.
Dans notre contexte aussi hostile qu'il soit. Voilà, Jonathan.
Thank you, Arjos.
Yeah, I like the three answers I've heard, and the key words I would pick out of there is like, yes, we need some rest to make our brain open. And yes, you need to learn all those skills in groups. We've all learned so much in being physically together with other people. And I think it's partly also because when you're physically together with other people, you get these little hints where you may be derailing in what's happening in your mind. When you're too expressive a certain way, too judgmental, or too tunnel vision. In a group, you will always be corrected. So I like what Tieneke said, that that's also an element that makes us, at the end of the day, humans are group animals, as they say sometimes. So it is important. It is a correcting mechanism that we need. And also what you say, take away the stress of all these resources that we lack. And I think if you're in such a space where you've been well rested and where you have the resources that you need and you feel comfortable in a group, that's the moment where you can be curious, basically, what's going out there, and can be like what children are at the beginning. Yeah, they're super curious. That's why they learn so much, because they have that open-mindedness still to the world out there. And I think that is an essential ingredient that we should always try to foster to be able to grow and to do better. Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you very much for your contributions and for coming through to this episode. And as we conclude, this is my last question to you guys, just to find out how you're feeling after these conversations, and do that through an emoji. How are you feeling right now? Which emoji best describes your feeling right now?
Which emoji?
Mm-hmm.
That emoji with the eyes up, so like.
Ça, je te donne emoji jusqu'à. Je suis emoji. Every time je vois emoji.
That one.
Adrien?
Ok, moi, j'en ai deux. Le premier, c'est le sourire. C'est l'emoji, voilà, avec le sourire là, oui.
That is one hell of an emoji.
I feel quite zen after this very good conversation, so I would say the one with the little circle around their head. Not an eye saint, but
And Shante?
zen.
So for me, my emoji is the one that's drooling, but that's only because I'm hungry. And this is a very good conversation.
Sorry for that, but thank you very much for that. And mine, I think mine is the mind-blowing one. The Lulu.
The Lulu. I forgot. The Lulu one, yes.
No, for me, it's the mind-blowing one because of the conversations that we've just had and the contributions that you've made. Thank you very much for that, and thank you, Mary, for coming through to this episode. And that's it from us, folks. You've heard it all. Collaboration requires empathy. It requires vulnerability. It also requires us to nap. So thank you for joining us for this episode. Please make sure you join us again next time for another mind-blowing and thought-provoking episode. For myself and the team behind the scenes, it's bye for now. This podcast has been made possible with the support from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of the Netherlands through the Power of Pride program, an initiative of COC Netherlands, ILCA Asia, and Pan-Africa ILCA, being implemented across 22 countries in Asia and in Africa. The program supports over 250 LGBTQI+ led community organizations to advocate for inclusive laws and policies and strengthen LGBTQI+ communities and civil societies in Asia and Africa. Please follow us to find out more. Thank you for listening.